national political reporter for the Washington Post. Katrina Pearson, spokesman for the Tea Party Leadership Fund. Lanny Davis, executive vice president at Levick and a former special counsel in the Clinton administration. And Ana Navarro, Republican strategist who is a supporter of Jeb Bush and an advisor to other GOP candidates. Okay, here we go. Katrina, you all saw the latest polling. It's from Monmouth University. Carson and Trump tied at 23%. Carly Fiorina is in third at 10%. Plus 66% of Iowa caucus goers say that they want their next president to be a government outsider. So what does it say that over half of the electorate might want, candidates with zero Washington experience?
Well, I think it speaks volumes considering the last two election cycles where you had GOP insiders or establishment politicos out there who ran fighting against Obamacare, fighting against amnesty, cutting back spending, and they did none of the above. They actually sat there and capitulated to everything this administration wanted. So now we have an opportunity to choose individuals outside the game who could actually get in and make a real difference. You know,
it's interesting to me because as we've been talking about a lot of these people, when you look at the hopefuls and the front runners, a lot of them are floundering right now. As we understand that Scott Walker, some of his campaign supporters may be having second thoughts. Robert, what do you think of that? Would established candidates, can they do anything?
Iowa's always a place for political outsiders to get a bounce. Just look at the last two cycles. You had Huckabee in 2008, Santorum in 2012. This is a state of evangelicals, conservatives. If you're an outsider, you better win Iowa. But if you're more establishment, the in the race, New Hampshire is more center-right. It gives you an opportunity to come back if a conservative wins that first contest.
Anna, can you also talk about this feud that is heating up between Trump and Jeb Bush? Jeb Bush yesterday attacked Trump's views on immigration, and now we have Trump putting out a 15-second ad, like an attack video via Instagram. Let's watch it, and then we'll talk about it.
Yes, they broke the law, but it's not a felony. It's kind of it's an act of love.
So, Anna, I mean, Jeb Bush's campaign hit back saying it's Bush who is the record on cracking down on violent criminals. How much of these videos do you think like this, does it undermine Bush's campaign?
You know, what I think is developing is a narrative where this is becoming Trump versus Bush. And frankly, I think that's great. I think it's great for both candidates. At some point, it's not going to be 17 people running. It's going to be 5 people. It's going to be 4 people. It's going to whittle down. And so if it becomes Jeb versus Trump, there's going to be a mano-mano that we see at some point, and they're going to have to go and, go with the policy issues, proposals, actually show some specifics and convince voters and go earn the vote. So it is what it is. Trump is a reality. I think a lot of us thought he wasn't going to run, and then we thought maybe it wasn't going to last long. Well, we've now come to terms with the fact that he is running. He's here to stay. It's going to last for a while, and so let's embrace it and take it on.
So, okay, so listen, Robert just says you have to win Iowa and New Hampshire. And it looks like some of the outsiders may be, not some of the outsiders, especially on the Republican side, may be doing that. And even on the Democratic side, that could happen. So Lanny, what does that say, for these establishment candidates? Because the polls are showing, if you look now, they don't really want specifics like Anna saying. They may want personality.
Well, first of all, there's a very real alienation in the country towards our leadership in Washington. Both parties, Congress, the Republicans are below any level that you can imagine, other than maybe their staff are the only ones saying they like Congress. So there is a country mood out there, and every politician is experiencing it. But there's a big difference between extrapolating from the results of a very small slice of the electorate in Iowa, who are Republicans who are going to be voting in the Republican caucuses, versus the general electorate of the United States, when they really ask themselves, who do we want to be president of the United States representing our country? And although it may surprise Anna to hear me say this, and I don't mean to hurt Jeb Bush by saying it, Jeb Bush is a responsible adult who I would certainly feel comfortable with representing our country if he is chosen as president.
I beg of you, Lanny, please do not say one good thing about Jeb Bush.
He's a conservative, and I disagree with him.
You are going to have.
But
you're going
let
to
me just finish
say
this one.
good things
I'll
about
help
Hillary
you.
and ruin her reputation too.
My point is, let's not extrapolate on, and I know that this is a show that is intended to focus on the immediate here and now. In the long term, the general electorate of this country wants a president that they believe is responsible and chooses his words and represents our country and makes us proud. And I don't think we should extrapolate from these results too much.
But let's talk about the Democratic side, because Hillary Clinton's having a lot of trouble right now. As you know, the former Vice President Dick Cheney on a book tour now, very critical of how Hillary Clinton handled her emails. We got a batch of 150 or so coming out, or more coming out. 150 have now been determined to have been classified after they were sent. Hang on, I'm going to let you respond, but I want you to listen to my colleague Jamie Gengel first, and then you can respond.
How would you describe her handling her emails this way, in a word?
Well, I think it was sloppy and unprofessional.
She should have known better.
I think she should have known
You
better.
think the Russians and the Chinese have her emails?
They've got my personnel records. How can they not have her emails?
Do you think this undermines or disqualifies her candidacy?
I think there's a very real possibility of that.
So, what do you make of that, Lanny?
Not
I mean,
exactly.
if you look at the polls, that when the one where they associate people with names, Blyer was the first one that came up with Hillary Clinton.
So there is an exact example, not blaming you, Don, where you've taken a poll that doesn't tell you that the word liar was used by Republicans in a general electorate poll, and it doesn't tell you how many people used the word liar. But that comment you just made has been repeated about 1 million times on the internet. So it was a general electorate poll, and there were volunteered responses, possibly from hate Clinton Republicans. So it's not possible to extrapolate from that little piece of data, just as I suggest to Anna that whatever's happening with the more moderate and responsible conservatives in a small slice of the electorate in Iowa or the early primaries, the long term is that this country is going to look for the most responsible person in each party to run against each other.
Yeah, go ahead, Robert. Even with what Lanny said about the polling, I mean, she has to win some Republicans in order to win the election.
She's right, but to add to Lanny's point, who's going after Secretary Clinton right now in the emails? It's Republicans. Vice President Biden, he's thinking about getting in the race. He's not going negative on Clinton. Either is Governor O'Malley, Senator Sanders is avoiding negative advertisements. Democrats still, for the majority, an overwhelming majority, are sticking with the secretary. The party has not turned, even though Republicans have.
All right.
Don, please, just one quick interjection. Thank you, Robert.
I've got a negative 10 seconds. Go ahead.
The Des Moines Register poll says 78% of the people in the poll have favorable impressions of Hillary